Our family had a boat, a Boston whaler I'd occasionally take out alone to a sacred place a few miles off the coast of Lake Erie. I would take this ride when I needed solitude, or when something serious was on my mind and I needed time to think it out. I had never spoken a word about this spot to anyone. No one knew, not even my mother. This sacred place was my prayer ground. Though I wasn't a regular Sunday morning church attender nor a Bible reader at the time, I did believe in God. I was a believer with no understanding of who God truly is. I had never heard of being born again and didn't understand the purpose behind Christ's death on the cross. I believed in God, but my belief was enveloped in arrogance. I expected to be served simply because I prayed. I'll never forget what ended up being my last visit to my prayer ground. It was a hot, clear summer evening. As I looked out on the lake from the backyard, I could see the gentle waves lapping against the shoreline and hear the sounds of seagulls squealing. I let Ma know I was taking the boat out alone for a while. I walked out to the back door, jumped into the boat, turned the key, and ignited the engine. I pushed the throttle forward hard and sped out onto the clear in a northwesterly direction. As I scanned the horizon, I spotted what must have been an 800-plus foot laker, a lake freighter, which is a bulk carrier of iron ore and coal in the Great Lakes region. It was traveling a few miles out in the general direction I was heading, so I decided to check it out on the way to my spot. When I finally reached the laker, I carefully and respectfully approached her and looked up towards the ship's stern. I could see a couple of crew members leaning against the rails having a smoke. Looking just below them, I marveled at the laker's massive propeller plowing and churning the water like a giant hand mixer, pushing the massive hunk of floating steel through the water with determined authority. While traveling behind the freighter, I decided to have a little fun. For the next several minutes, I was totally exhilarated and free as I zigzagged back and forth across the laker's huge wakes, using them to surf and launch my whaler airborne like a dolphin. Satisfied, I waved goodbye to the crew members and left the area, heading further north for a half-mile or so. When I reached the middle of the lake with nothing but water and sky in sight, I shut off the engine. I moved to the bow of the boat and lay down. I rested my head on the seat cushion and began to settle in, as if I'd pulled into a drive-in movie theater and was getting ready to watch a flick on the big screen. I've always enjoyed watching the sunrises, sunsets, and nature's spectacular storms roll across the lake, whether I was standing in the backyard of my mother's house or on the water, even sailing in storms. That evening, from where I was a few miles out on Lake Erie, I had a front row seat with an unobstructed view of the sunset. It felt like my own private world. There was an undisturbed peace in my prayer ground. It was absolutely silent and still, and I felt the presence of God. The work of the world's greatest author and painter was on full display as the evening sun began to set. Suspended in the palm of the lake's western horizon, the everlasting ball of fire reflected hundreds of thousands of glittering orbs across the lake's surface like giant dancing balls. The low-hanging lazy sun dispersed a powerful ray of light into the western skies to create a perfectly draped layer of fine, red wine sky. I slowly rolled my head toward the east, following the gradual changes of color to a deep midnight blue across the eastern horizon. The panoramic view was stunning and surreal. What a finale. It was a delight to take in, and I swear for a brief moment, the world came to a complete stop, for a freeze-frame picture that branded an indelible image in my mind. I would hold that image for the rest of my life. Lake Erie was then, and is now, truly a special place to me. Despite the awesome views, things were different that evening at my sacred place. I was filled with a combination of disbelief and anger, and yet there also was some numbness. I was having trouble comprehending the gravity of my recent diagnosis. The doctor had told me I had Usher Syndrome Type II. I didn't know much about this disease, but it appeared to be a massive, ugly storm approaching in the forecast of my life. A storm that would never rest and would last a lifetime.